With early voting now available to do in some states like Virginia, Trump supporters have begun showing up to polls in order to intimidate these voters. Take a look. All right, so that happened at the County Board of Elections in the D.C. suburb of Fairfax, Virginia, and actually followed a rally nearby featuring Republican National Committee co-chair Tommy Hicks. Now, one county official said that the group had intimidated some of the voters who were waiting to vote, and that another part of the government building had to be opened up for voters who were moved inside. According to the New York Times, and this is Fairfax County General Register Gary Scott talking to the Times. He says, quote, citizens coming into and leaving the building did have to go by them. And so there were some people that were intimidated and had asked for escort. Now, for me, I'm not intimidated easily. So would that have intimidated me? No, but I'm also kind of a big guy. I may be 5'9", but I'm stacked. So, yeah, good luck with that. But I can understand how some people did feel intimidated by this. And so that is voter intimidation. Now, the group did dissipate eventually by 1 p.m. And Fairfax County Commonwealth's Attorney Steve Descano, the top prosecutor, said in a Facebook post that his office would, quote, pursue cases of voter intimidation that may have occurred. Now, look, what's interesting is Fairfax County is pretty Democrat, right? And so these Trump supporters, it's not as if they were, going in to try to, I guess, advocate, or maybe not even advocate, but like cheer on their own side, right? In a heavily conservative county. No, this is a very Democrat county. A lot of Democrat voters. And so the purpose was pretty clear. They wanted to go and they wanted to intimidate voters. And that's it. Now, again, chanting 4 more years, to me, not necessarily intimidating, but I can understand how some people would feel this way. And so I get it. Now, there was also reports of people literally blocking the entrance. And yes, you are not supposed to politic at the polls. Very, very true. So now, basically, they're doing the same thing they did to people who would get abortions, basically. Standing in front and blocking your vote in person, right? Standing outside your polling places and yelling at you. In that case, like I said, all we could see is to chant for 4 more years. Now, Republicans, instead of saying, hey, you know what, maybe we shouldn't, have people outside blocking people's votes, access to the polls or anything like that. Instead, the Republican Party, the Virginia GOP, actually tweeted this in response to the New York Times story. Somebody called the whambulance. Well, I'm glad voter suppression is funny to you, GOP. Really. They also said that in another county, election officials didn't accuse them of blocking access, just intimidating voters. We weren't blocking access to polls. All we were doing is just intimidating the voters, so it's fine. And somebody called it, oh, you feel intimidated? Somebody called a whambulance. Come on, dude, really? I mean, here's Fairfax County GOP Vice Chair Sean Rastatter telling the New York Times, quote, I don't think there was any way to need or feel intimidated in any form. Well, of course, Trump supporters randomly yelling at you, that's fine. Quote, I'm sorry, that's there's no more quotes there from him. Other than, of course, we needed to make sure people aren't committing voter fraud. Yeah. They're not. There is no voter fraud that's going on here. And so there's no need to send people out to the polls. But that's what Donald Trump is doing, by the way. Donald Trump and the Republicans are sending people out to the polls. They're encouraging them to go and, quote unquote, watch polls to make sure that people aren't committing voter fraud. When in reality, most of the time, voter fraud is committed. At least, the high profile cases usually tend to be Republicans that are out there saying, "Oh, I'm just testing the system." No, you're not. You're doing voter fraud. You're just trying to pump up the numbers in order to try to block people from being able to vote. And that's what it's about. But look, if there was actual voting fraud, don't you think that Donald Trump and his commission on finding voter fraud would have found substantial numbers? Instead, they did an entire investigation and found nothing at all. And so, yeah, it's nothing more than intimidation. Now, here's the thing. Here's also something that Donald Trump had said. Quote, and this is on his poll watchers, "We're going to have everything. We're going to have sheriffs, and we're going to have law enforcement, and we're going to hopefully have U.S. attorneys and everybody, attorneys generals, but it's very hard." What? Again, he wants to have law enforcement watch over the polls, okay? Especially in minority areas. So that is also another form of voter intimidation. I'm just saying, look, these are the people that don't believe in democracy. They don't want more people voting. It's very obvious. Look, I've shown you the video of Paul Ryrick many times. Almost every time I talk about voter suppression, that comes up. Why? It's because that's part of their plan. He is the godfather of the modern conservative movement, admitted it on tape, where he's like, "I don't want more people voting. I want less voting because that's how we win. That's how we win. When less people vote, we win more." And that's just a fact. And you have the demographics right now that have turned against the Republican Party. They are a shrinking party, and so they have resort to intimidation tactics. They have it's voter suppression, eliminating polling places, and now putting people in front of polling places to discourage people from voting. And not only that, but of course you have gigantic lines as well. Lines that you do not have. And I have lived in plenty of Republican districts, okay, in conservative districts that are majority white. And let me tell you, there's never a line at our polling place. Almost never. And if there is, I think I stood in one line that took about 5 minutes to clear. Contrast that to people living in minority areas who have to wait over an hour, sometimes 2 hours or more. These things are not equal. They're not equal at all. And so look, it just shows they prefer to have white Republican voters and not have Democratic voters. Because, again, that voter suppression is how Republicans win. These are people that have power, and they are not afraid to use it. And what voters they cannot scare off, they want to make sure do not count. Donald Trump keeps talking about fake ballots. This is why. And he says he's going to make sure that they do not count on Election Day. For one, they are not fake. But secondly, and more importantly, he wants to make sure that he wins. And in order to do that, he has to make sure that your vote doesn't count. And that's it. And look, I get frustrated when I hear people say on the left, right? "Oh, my vote doesn't count. Doesn't mean anything." If it didn't count, why the hell is everybody always trying to steal it? Why do I constantly see stories of voter suppression, of people blocking access to the polls? If it didn't count, why do they want it so much? And that's the question. And nobody can seem to give me a good answer on it. And so right now, we still have a vote. We get fascism, well, there goes your vote. Then it really wouldn't count. But at that point, it's way too late. It's not too late yet. It's not too late yet.